the music industry is becoming even more and more global every year. You know, reaching just the United States isn't enough. You need to reach the person in Singapore or the person in India. So, how much time and resources are dedicated to developing music markets compared to more emerging music markets?
Well, you know, it used to be that you had to conquer by territory and there was gatekeepers in every country. So if the guy that ran your label in France didn't want to prioritize your artist, it was really hard. If the promoter in Germany didn't really believe or want to book it, um, and you had, the traditional access points of the press and radio and maybe video channels and they were controlled by people, et cetera. Well, what's obviously evolved is that artists have the ability to talk direct to fans. Streaming has created a platform where you don't have to worry about getting your record distributed inside France. It's inside France. If you have Spotify or Deezer or you're on YouTube, if it's there in the United States, it's there in France, it's there in South Africa. So suddenly the ability to talk to kids or music lovers all over the world, there is no borders, and the cost of entry is a lot less. And it's okay if you only have 1,000 followers in South Africa. You can still enjoy having those 1,000 fans there. And so what's happened is, the world has really stepped back and realized it's a global world. So in a lot of ways, the world's gotten a lot smaller because of technology. That's a good thing. Streaming services they've leveled the playing field for distribution, so there's no cost of entry. And then, companies like Live Nation and AEG are very sophisticated in starting to bring a much more global touring market. So instead of a band going, well, I can play Australia and I can play the United States and I can play the UK and Europe and maybe Japan or something. There is a very healthy, up until recently at least, very healthy global touring business where artists could literally, spend 2 years going around the world playing for fans.
Yeah. And what about like genres that are not as common in the United States? So like let's say K-pop or Indian music. Is Maverick focusing on those different genres or other genres?
Yeah, I actually we brought in a K-pop act called Monster X last year that's doing great. That had a whole vision for their English speaking music, and that's gone really well. At top 5 record with Epic and Sony in the U.S. And a couple charted pop singles. Um, we just signed an artist that had a big base in India, relocated to the United States, named Ananya Barela. And we feel very much that everything should be viewed globally. So, and to answer your question, I think, we live in a world where the reason K-pop has sort of blown up and people are like, oh, look at this thing is there was all these kids that were discovering this and they felt that was their music, right? And they connected with Monster X or BTS or, whatever K-pop band. So it was a lot easier for K-pop to go around the world. And it turned out that there was a bunch of fans, a lot of young girls that loved it and saw it as just another version of boy band
Right.
music,